Welcome to the Libido Lounge, where we focus on all things love, lust, and libido. We believe that fabulous sex is important to health as exercise and good food. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode on the lounge. I'm so excited about the conversation we're going to have today. I'm bringing on today one of my friends, Jennifer Joy Jimenez, and we're going to talk about body shame. We're going to talk about dance. We're going to talk about techniques you can use to feel more confident in your body, to get into the body sensations, to actually feel pleasure in new and profound ways, which of course translates down into better libido, better relationships, better connection with yourself, with your partner, and so much more. So, I want to introduce Jennifer here. So, Jennifer is the founder of TranscenDance, which is just a powerful movement exercise that we're going to talk about today that is really designed to do this, to help you get into your body more, to help you feel more confident, and so many more things that I know that I'm going to let Jennifer tell us about. And then she's also the founder and director of the Health and Wellbeing Division at the Brave Thinking Institute. So, welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thanks for joining us, Jennifer.
It is my absolute pleasure, and I'm super grateful to be here today. Yeah.
Well, let's open with this concept of like, what is transcendence? How were you inspired to really create this? And what are we really doing from a standpoint with this type of visionary movement that is bringing us into our body, that is helping us become more full in our body and more alive? Can you kind of just set the stage with like, what are we talking about exactly with transcendence?
Yes, thank you for asking. So, one of the easiest ways I have found to describe transcendence is it's like taking the mindfulness of yoga off the mat and infusing in joyful free form movement. So, what do we mean by free form? Most people, when they think of the word dance, they think of Zumba, ballroom, jazz, ballet, a very technical dance. Now, that is my background. I came from the professional dance background world. But conscious dance or freeform dance is really about unlocking your inner dancer within. We're all born dancers. Have you ever seen a baby that when music comes on, they can't help but shake their little tush? Like literally rhythm and movement and being in our bodies and being free in our bodies. If you look at 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, as long as they've lived a pretty normal, upbringing without a huge amount of trauma, they're in their bodies, they're moving their bodies freely. And then somewhere along the way, we lose touch with really living in that free, connected, embodied state. And so, one of my passions that I have found in my own life is really going from this place of really controlling our bodies, right? Statistically, it's said that 90% of women hate their bodies, that 1 in 3 women have been abused in some way. So it is no surprise that we leave our bodies. It hasn't felt safe. It hasn't felt pleasurable or good to be in the body. And conscious dance, and specifically TranscenDance, is a set of dance opportunities, right? Really where we come into the breath and we allow the inner dancer within us. I like to say that we all have an inner physician within, we all have an inner wise being, and yet we don't give ourselves a whole lot of time to unlock that part of us that is available to heal us, to free us, to feel that sense of liberated freedom. That's probably one of the first things I have clients say in their very first class. I haven't danced like this since I was a child. I don't think I've ever felt this liberated or free. It didn't matter that I was told I have 2 left feet. You don't have to have rhythm. You're not following anyone else's dance steps or moves. So there's no complication in it. It really is just about feeling amazing and free in our bodies.
One of the things you get me thinking about as you're describing this is like in sexuality and in sexual relationships, I see so many times where partners kind of get locked into like this one movement, right? Where it's like, oh, well, it looks this way. We do step A, we do step B, we do step C, like we reach the grand finale and it's over. And so, when you're talking about an infant and that movement of that's almost like free form, right? Infants aren't thinking, they're just moving. So I'm curious, like, do you feel like with something like transcendence, like if that is really kind of like almost unlocking more of the possibilities that is kind of can break us out of, say, moving not only in life but also in our intimate relationships in a different way that kind of gets us unlocked from those patterns. Do you see that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple quick stories to share of people who've, I mean, I've worked with, of course, thousands of people from all over the world that tell me they not only feel more confident in their body in their everyday interactions, from the boardroom, being able to stand up and really be in their full confident self, but of course to the bedroom where they get unlocked and freed from those rote, very stagnant, very stiff, very tight kind of movement patterns that when you live in the fullness of your being, it unlocks freedom, sensuality, connection in ways that you wouldn't even begin to describe. I would say I've been married 29 years. I've had one sexual partner, which is really uncommon. I met my husband when I was 16, though, so that tells you a few things. But it doesn't matter. I've seen myself grow over all of these years from a 16-year-old, very curious and very, sensual woman, but also as a professional dancer, I got into very controlling ways and abusive ways with my body as a young woman, starvation and control and deprivation and over exercising, that whole paradigm, which is really normal in the professional dance world, to then getting pregnant with my daughter and having a 50-hour labor, even though I trained for it like I was going to climb Kilimanjaro and I'm in the best shape of my life and I'm visualizing my beautiful, perfect, all natural labor in my mind every night and doing Kegels and the whole thing, as you can understand where that's going, right? So that birth was actually my doorway, though, to this work, because after all that work and all that dedication to feel like I was so disconnected during that birth process, I wasn't taught to let my body lead me. Think about that for a moment. In birth, in lovemaking, in sensuality, it's not about telling the body what to do, right? It's really about actually letting the natural wisdom that is the body teach you, show you, guide you. And so after that 50-hour labor and birth, I became a real sponge and a hungry student to find everything I could around me, every book I could find, every mentor. And that's really where I found conscious dance. And the first whole process was me healing my own disconnect from my body, coming home to my body, even healing the trauma the birth was for me. I healed through conscious dance. And that was the early years of creating TranscenDance, really pulling from some of the most famous and well-known, world-renowned, mentors of this modality. But I was raised by a thought leader mother who taught me from a very early age that thoughts become things, that we're co-creators of our lives, that we're all swimming in this universal spiritual energy. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. But she's also very much a thought leader. She's 75, right? So that generation, the Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra, generation where it's very kind of thought driven. And I'm wired differently. I'm wired from an embodied perspective. I want to feel it and move it to know it. I'm a kinesthetic learner. So I was able to take all that I was learning and understanding in all of those teachings as now an adult woman, right? And how it didn't quite work just by thinking it into reality with my birth, right? Manifesting that perfect birth. I was like, okay, something was off there. And I began to marry this mind, body, spirit connection, bringing in conscious dance, but universal spiritual principles and very simple breathing and movement patterns that just completely opened me up to this whole other experience of my own body, first and foremost. I started having some of the best sex I've ever had in my life. And I wouldn't even call it sex. I would call it oneness and connection and dancing in the bedroom. And just because I was in my body, like really in my body. Then when I had my second two babies, my two sons, I had my son Joel in 2 hours, start to finish, my son Joaquin in 90 minutes. And there were moments, I know it sounds crazy, but moments during those births where it was pleasurable. I mean, it was painful too, right? But there was this harmony and this connection where I was dancing with the baby and allowing my cervix to open. And that led to understanding all different connection points with my body. And that was really taking that, my own self first, right, as my own laboratory, and then beginning to roll it out little by little with clients. Now it's been, my daughter's 24, she'll be 25 in November. So, we're talking over 20 years in this laboratory of life to codify this in a way that people that aren't natural dancers or movers, or people that are like in the best shape of their lives, people that are older, people that are younger, can come into an experience and over the course of a few minutes, really honestly, with some basic awarenesses that this is safe. This is a non-judgment zone. You're not going to be ridiculed or judged here, because that's really the first thing people get defensive. Ooh, I've been told I can't dance, or ooh, I need to do it in it. There's a right way, there's a wrong way. I'm going to get judged. That's our human kind of adult paradigm. And I think that shows up in the bedroom too. I'm going to do it wrong. Like, oh, am I doing it right? Just all of that self-consciousness. And what I found is when you have these types of modalities that teach you there is no wrong way. And actually, when you live in your body, you can sense the other person and what's going on with them energetically without words, in ways that you've heightened and opened up this sixth sense. And so 2 quick stories about clients. I mean, I have like so many stories, like hundreds and hundreds of stories, but 2 that came to my mind. One is a woman, and she hadn't had sex for over a decade. She came into I have transformational coaching and retreats and classes and all kinds of things that I do. And TranscenDance is really this like key piece that I bring into that work to help women come into their bodies. So the big thing she wanted, because she ate really well, she was basically pretty healthy, but she wanted to reignite things in the bedroom. And what we found very quickly was she was running a lot of unconscious masculine energy. And when you're running, and this is really common, I'm sure you see it all the time in your work, right? And it's really this default mode. A lot of women have learned to operate in this very, Western world that we're in. And it's really not their fault. They just haven't learned to soften and how to run go energy, and then how to soften into receiving energy. There's this opportunity for that. So taught her a few tools within the first less than 3 months of the program. I want to say it was probably within the first 60 days. She's in, and her thing was she wanted to be whisked away into the bedroom. Like, she didn't want to initiate. He hadn't initiated in like a decade. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't even imagine, my heart just felt so much for her and wanting her to have this experience, but allow it, like, to help her blossom and soften into this feminine energy that is magnetic. It's like the flower that attracts the bee. The flower can't be running around chasing after the bees. The flower just blossoms and the bees come, right? So anyhow, I remember one of the coaching calls where she came, she was like, Jennifer, you're never going to believe it. He comes home from work. He grabs me in his arms. He whisks me off into the bedroom. And, they had this really amazing, intimate experience. Now, she also needed some support because it'd been a long time, so she needed some tools and some support around really making it as pleasurable as it can be at her age and after so many years, which we solved that as well, just to be real, you know what I mean? But the point of her attracting him in that way came from an embodied experience, and then Benjamin, my other client, who basically talked about, like, he was just like really introverted, so clumsy that he would bump into things. Those people that just are like, they don't even know where they are in space. And think about how that might translate into the bedroom. Like, it's just really hard to get into a rhythm, And so 2 left feet, bumping into things, like super self-conscious, and told his whole life he can't dance. But yet, I think inside of all of us, there's this like 5-year-old that just doesn't give a crap. You know what I mean? Like, that just, we're at the summer concert and we're just having fun and running around and twirling around and hopping and skipping, and that part of us that just wants to be allowed to just be as we are. So he comes into the work, starts doing these, TranscenDance practices, and has completely blossomed, totally super, confident, can be on stage in front of 100 people at an event, just moving and dancing, and it's translated into his work in the world. He's increased his income. Like, so much can open up for people when they really come home to their bodies. So a few stories.
Yeah, thanks. One of the things that I really want to emphasize and what you've said here is that concept, right, of guiding and of like let the body guide you. Because I do think that it's so common, right, that people get into this almost this like duty sex type of thing where it's like, oh, I'm just going to do this thing, and it's almost mechanical, right? And oftentimes I taught a class last week on having the right kind of sex. So people are like, well, what is that kind? Well, it's the kind that actually is exactly what you're saying. It's the kind that is body led, that is allowing your body to actually feel into, this is what I like. These are the way my body responds. This is how my body is led. And another thing I like about your work and what I've experienced with it when we've been at conferences together and you've led, activities this way, is this concept that I've seen with all the dance I've done over the years of this sense of allowing various body parts to almost lead, where it's like, oh, what is it like? And we can take that into the bedroom, right? Like, so like, what is it like? Because some of your work, sometimes I believe you do things like, okay, well, now lead from this part of your body. And so even in the bedroom, like, what is it like if I lead from my heart? What is it like if I lead from my yoni? What is it like if I lead from my bosom? Right? So you can say more about almost like tuning into those different body parts like that.
Yeah. I love that. Well, what came to my mind was actually my own process of getting to know my pleasure centers, which aren't only just my, my sacred center or my yoni or my breasts, but like the inside of my elbow. You know what I mean? Or the inner part of my wrist to be kissed there. And actually communicate, first of all, knowing that at all is my responsibility. And I'm sure you teach this, Diane. It's not anybody else's job to know what it feels like to be in my body, what I like to feel, where I want to be touched, and when I want to be touched there is the other thing. So this conscious dance practice, one of the stages, there's 10 stages in TranscenDance. One of the stages to help people come home to their body is stage 4, which is the dance of self. And you do that exact thing through a very kind of sensual, type of a song usually we're working with. And we literally will just start to kind of meander through the space, walk through the room and feel the whole space. There is no front to class. There's no mirrors in a conscious dance class, which is great because you're not worried about how you look. Usually over time you get better at that, but you just start moving your head and moving your shoulders, and literally you move towards pleasure, which is so counterintuitive for so many people. So much of our, at least Western fitness world, is this no pain, no gain. You've got to work really hard to see the results, and your body has to look a certain way to be pleasurable and beautiful and good enough, thin enough, curvy enough, whatever the enoughness is. So you just let all of that judgment out, and you just love moving your body, and your body loves to move. And as you open up to that movement, it does feel good. And you start to feel pleasure in your body, and you go, ooh, this is what unlocks the sense of aliveness and pleasure. And I would say that's probably the most important shift for me in moving from a dutiful feeling of like, I need, because my husband's from Mexico. He's literally like a Latin lover. Sex is, in sensuality and connection and intimacy is one of the most important love languages for him. And he has no problem going straight in, like right to the sensual parts. I love Dr. Christian Northrup's books, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, and Secret Pleasures of Menopause. These are really great books because they just really open us up to, there's so much more to look forward to, even in our post-menopausal years as women. And I'm right in that transition as a 49-year-old woman. And one of the things that I learned even through reading her book is our energies are moving outward, right? And men's energies are moving inward. So they just want to go straight in. So I can't tell you how many times I've had to remind him and be patient with it. Let it be okay that he wants to go straight for those parts, And I'm like, hold on, kiss me here. Kiss me right. You remember, honey? It's like, I'm like, we've been married 29 years. You should know this, but this is okay. I don't mind. You just right here, it's right there, or right here, and like help, support. It's not anybody else's responsibility. It's my responsibility to live a turned on life so that I am living in this pleasurable living place. From that place, I can come and bring pleasure and sensuality. One of my favorite quotes is that the turned on Western woman really will save the world, right? But that's a really important piece, isn't it? Diane, the turned on woman, and that we're responsible to live this turned on life.
It really is. And I think so many times because of, patriarchy versus matriarchy and just societal influences over the past many centuries, really, it has been this thing around like, oh, this pleasure, this feeling, this asking for what we want is either like bad and they should just know. And I think finally we're at this phase where like getting away from just like, even like just things like you said, like getting away from the thinking body into the feeling body and really making it safe and culturally acceptable, and not only culturally acceptable, but culturally encouraged to say, hey, actually, yeah, we do have to voice our pleasure. We do have to really let our partner know. And after 29 years, still remind them, because it's not that anybody's doing things wrong. It's that literally our brains work differently. And that's all it is. There's no other meaning behind that. And so we do have to take that personal pleasure, that personal responsibility. And part of that is learning our body and learning our feeling and learning all of those things, which is, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on, because like I said, my own personal experience has been that these sensual dance types of movements and courses and classes have been one of the most fundamental things for me for getting in my own body and having that confidence, right? We talked about that offline around like the confidence that these classes and these courses give us around these movement classes to have the confidence to say those hard things. So I know we're about to wrap up here, and I do want to make sure that everybody knows that we do have an amazing gift that you're giving away, which is a free class. So you're offering the audience a way to try this and experience this and get in their body and waken up their sensuality, but waking up their confidence and all the other amazing things that you mentioned in your stories that come with this. So thank you so much for that. And we'll have all the information on how to get a hold of Jennifer and work with her in the show notes, you guys. But I want to ask a final question, which is like, is there anything else you want to leave our audience with? Is there anything that you just feel is so important that they're remembering in the context of movement, of dance, of getting inside of their body, of really having that confidence to take charge of their own pleasure? Anything to leave us with today?
Say probably the biggest message is it doesn't have to take a long time. And that was probably one of my biggest learning coming from the professional dance world. I used to dance 8 hours a day, and I had this paradigm that I had to do it all in a certain way in a huge amount of my day. And as I became a mother and an entrepreneur and all the things that I do, truly, and I know this is probably, we hear this over and over and over again, is sitting is the new smoking, because our lymph system literally can't move the toxins out of our body unless our muscles are moving, right? So literally standing up from our desk, putting on a song that just ignites joy. And we all have that song where we're driving in the car and it comes on and you just can't help it. You're singing in the car, your toes start tapping. So it's that kind of a song that just ignites those happy hormones. And there's so much science. We haven't even gotten into the health benefits of dance. We've talked all about the sensuality, but I mean, it increases your circulation. It increases your mental acuity. It literally gives you an emotional boost. It's our best antidepressant out there. It also helps our muscles and our bones. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So just a few minutes of dance, everybody, really is your best friend. And a daily dose of dance can really keep the doctor away as well. So my encouragement is just dance.
I love it. And I love that orientation to it doesn't have to take a lot of time, because I think so often when it's like a new habit, it's like, okay, I'm going to commit to an hour a day, and that lasts for about 3 days. And then we realize we don't have time. So it doesn't take a lot of time. And I have found in my own life, like I dance all my emotions. And that's one of the things I've got out of sensual dance practice, where it's like, if I'm angry, if I'm sad, if I have fear, if I have anxiety, if I'm happy, all the different emotions, the light ones, the dark ones, the hard ones, the easy ones, bring it to dance. And it's amazing. Like I have my special songs where it's like, oh, I'm feeling angry and I got to get it out. And the songs I go to and all those things are it's just, you're right. There's so many health benefits. And I want to remind all of our listeners that this year in 2024, we're doing these short 20-minute episodes, but for the people that have the largest downloads, the best shares, the highest level of all those things, we're inviting them back for a deep dive. So please, please, please download this show, share it with your friends. Let's get Jennifer back so we can do a much deeper dive on all of the health benefits, because all of these health things are actually related to libido and those things. So make sure you download this, make sure you share it. And remember, this is sexy season. And in sexy season, we have a lot of raffles going on. So if you review us, send us a screenshot of your review. We're going to get you listed in or enrolled into our raffle. We have almost 20 different giveaways, our courses by Susan Bratton, tons of information, tons of free content for you guys, for supporting us. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for being here on the lounge. Jennifer, it's a pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. So great to be here.
All right, everybody. Well, that's a wrap. We'll see you next time. This is Dr. Diane, your libido doc, reminding you to always feel sexy, be classy, and stay a little badassy. See you next time.